The Quiet Reformer: The Legacy of Umaru Musa Yar'adua. A look at the short but impactful presidency of Umaru Musa Yar'adua, a leader whose commitment to the rule of law, peace and transparency left an indelible mark on Nigeria. In 2007, Nigeria, the Africa's most populous nation and a beacon of its economy, witnessed a pivotal transition of power. The new president, Umar Musa Yar'adua, was a quiet, unassuming former governor from Katsina State. His presidency will be tragically short, but in that brief time, he will set in motion changes that will challenge the very fabric of Nigerian governance. He is often seen with a calm, thoughtful expression, sometimes holding a book. He was an unlikely president, a chemistry teacher turned politician, known more for his intellectual rigor than political flamboyance, and his first act will be his most revolutionary. Professor Chidi Odinkalu, a human rights lawyer, once said about him, Yar'adua did something extraordinary. He stood before the nation and acknowledged that the election that brought him to power was flawed. No Nigerian leader had ever done that. It was a moment of stunning honesty that immediately redefined the relationship between the government and the governed. The admission was the foundation of his 7-point agenda, but more than any policy, it was his core philosophy that guided his actions, a belief in the rule of law. His admission moved quickly to depoliticize institutions and respect court rulings, even when they went against the government. This restored a measure of faith in the judiciary. He brought a certain integrity to governance. There were a clear directive that due process must be followed. For the first time in a long while, contracts and spending were being scrutinized not just for political gain but for national gain. Perhaps his most tangible legacy was in the Niger Delta. For decades, the oil-rich region had been plagued by militancy, kidnappings, and pipeline vandalism which crippled the nation's economy. Where previous administrations had used only military force, Yar'adua chose the path of peace and dialogue. He offered unconditional amnesty to militants, promising rehabilitation, training, and a chance to integrate into the society they felt had abandoned them. The leader of the militants, popularly known as Tampolo, said, Yar'adua was a man of his word. He invited us, he listened. For the first time, we felt heard from the highest level. The amnesty program wasn't perfect, but it stopped the bleeding. It brought boys out of creeks and gave them hope. The results were immediate. Oil production soared from historic lows, bringing billions of dollars back into the national treasury. The guns, for the most part, fell silent. In the power sector, he initiated reforms to break the state-owned monopoly, hoping to attract private investment and finally solve Nigeria's perennial electricity crisis. Though he would not live to see it through, the roadmap he left out became the foundation for future reforms. His work was tragically cut short by a prolonged illness. His absence created a constitutional crisis. But even in this, his legacy held. His team, adhering to the doctrine of rule of law he championed, ensured a peaceful transfer of power to his vice, Goodluck Jonathan, preserving Nigeria's fragile democracy. President Yar'adua's time was a lesson in purposeful, focused leadership. He wasn't a loud leader, but he was a deep one. He made integrity the centerpiece of his governance model. He made us believe for a moment that principle could trump power in Nigerian politics. Umar Musa Yar'adua did not have time to complete all he set out to do, but in his quiet, steadfast way, he planted seeds of reform in the Niger Delta, in the power sector, and most importantly, in the ethos of governance. He proved that in a nation often defined by noise, the quietest voice could sometimes echo the loudest. A leader who acknowledged his own imperfections to strive for a more perfect union. Umaru Musa Yar'adua, 1951-2010, former President of Federal Republic of Nigeria from 2007 to 2010.